Hey, it's Tay's Dragons. You can call me Fallon, and today I'll be talking about one of the tribes in my, what would it be called? If anybody knows, please tell me. In my little book I'm writing, I guess. So I thought I'd be talking about one of my most developed tribes so far, called the Daughters of the Sun. They're like the main religious group, I guess, which is only worshipped by one of the other tribes. Only one. But that's not really important. Don't mind the character in the back. She's my own OC and has nothing to do with the series. I just thought you might want to see me draw her, you know? So this is my first long form video. I don't have any great mics at all, so if the quality is crappy of the audio, I am very sorry. I'll work on it. Any tips would work wonderfully and are completely welcome. But, so the Daughters of the Sun are a religious group, technically. So I use the term tribe very lightly when speaking of them as a tribe because they really are just a religious group. But they're dragons born from the sun, which is self-explanatory. But for starters, it's important to mention that these dragons have a range of 1 to 5 abilities, or like powers, however you want to say it. Like, you know, superpowers kind of, but dragon form. All have been born almost identical with never an impairment of any kind. So they technically are what would be called like an elite group, you know? They're just all kind of made ideal. And they also are all female, hence named the Daughters of the Sun, which there is a reason behind all of this, but that's not relevant for you to know. Not right now, at least. Sorry if there's any noise in this next part. It's probably the people that live upstairs because, you know, they're kind of loud when they run around, at least. And I guess they're doing that right now. But anyways, to flesh out this religion, there are many ceremonies and holidays, and of course a god. The sun is considered god by the feather dragons and is also worshipped by the Daughters of the Sun. But the Daughters of the Sun are also worshipped, if that makes sense, by the feather tails, which is another tribe, for context. If that makes sense, because, you know, they're considered closest to the sun, since they are the Daughters of the Sun. Makes sense, I hope. The daughters all live in a magically constructed palace made of quartz, marble, and anything blindingly white that you can think of. Most windows are stained glass and all halls are adorned with gold and gems. The palace is walled off and has a garden inside the walls. I also previously mentioned traditions, and one tradition is Assessment Day. This is probably the most important tradition to mention. Assessment Day is where all the Daughters of the Sun ages from 15 to 16 compete in one-on-one battles to unleash or find their powers. And this happens once every 2 years, hence the varying ages. The daughters believe that their abilities come out in the heat of battle under that stress, and this is why all egg clutches old enough to get pairings with other dragons in their clutch to fight until certain circumstances are met. And if you're wondering what a clutch means, just in case, it's basically a group of eggs. So if a dragon were to lay a group of eggs, that would be a clutch, and those guys are considered to be closer than a different clutch, so they're kept together. At least this is how it's done in their group. But, hold up. Sorry, I'm reading off a script, and I get a bit out of place sometimes. I also am stuttering a lot, and I'm sorry if it's annoying. But these conditions are as follows. A power has been found to have awakened, or an opponent is heavily injured, or the battle has lasted over 30 minutes. And in that case, the match will be called off or completed. After you have completed your match, you will be awarded with a veil that covers a certain amount of the dragon's face. The longer the veil, the more ability they possess. This also translates to power, or a place in the government, I guess you'd call it, because that's a place of power is what it is. So, they also have to wear these veils for the rest of their lives. I would like to add that they only have to wear the veils when they are outdoors and in front of the public eye. So if they were in their own rooms inside the palace, they could have them off. The The occasion of assessment day is the focal point of any daughter's life. It grants freedoms, responsibilities, and privileges. This is all due to the upbringing and early life of the daughters of the sun. And you may be wondering, they're all female. How do they reproduce? And if you weren't, you're going to hear it anyway. So any full-grown dragon can be blessed by the sun god himself to carry an egg. So they're technically asexual. They asexually reproduct, you know? If you learned that in school yet. I know I did. It's not even funny. Sorry. And she will briefly carry these eggs until laying them. From this point on, they are not allowed to be any further involved with these eggs, the parent. Although most daughters never develop or even possess maternal instincts, and so they're not bothered by this, and it's not a problem, which you might feel sad about, but they don't. So it's okay. The clutch of eggs is then incubated in the nursery until they hatch, and once they do, the entire clutch are given very heavy, large purple cloaks. Dark purple. These cloaks will grow with these young dragons, since they're so large, until their assessment day, which is the first time they will be able to feel the sun on their scales, since they have to keep the cloak on their entire childhood. They're rarely ever able to take it off, even in the comfort of their own rooms. Taking off your cloak before your assessment and feeling the sun on your scales is actually strictly forbidden and considered unholy to do so. These cloaks may seem like a bad thing, but they serve an essential role in these dragons' life later on. The cloaks are especially heavy due to their infusion of gold in its fibers. This gold, along with a bit of magic, collects and harbors any magical essence and energy that radiates from the young dragons until the day they're assessed. These cloaks are then collected and melted down, and the gold is extracted and then molded into to show the newly crowned dragon's status based off the shape of the gold amulet. The more prongs the sun has, the circular sun in the center has, the higher their rank, essentially. I have pictures. I'll probably put them up on screen now. But these cloaks are very important because once they collect this magic, it can be used for a number of things, like as a key in and out of the palace through the door opens from the magic, basically. Due to its magical power gained from collecting from the same dragons who once wore them, they can then use that power. So that's the purpose of the cloaks, basically. So after their assessments are completed, they can either frolic about the stadium where the event takes place, or take a nice break in the stands to watch fellow sisters compete and earn their spot amongst the daughters of the sun. While assessment day is very interesting, there isn't much more to it than previously stated, but I could go more in depth in a short. After their assessments, the newly crowned dragonesses are given a day or two of rest and to gather their things to prepare for a move from the nursery to a larger, more permanent living area that they will share with their other clutch members, similar to how they did in the nursery. Once they do have all their things, they have a 3-day period after their assessments to move into the new area and get situated, which is basically just a large living area with what we would call a living room, a kitchenette, and then several other rooms with doors, and they'll live in those rooms. They don't have to share them. They only have to share the living space. And they're free to go and come and go as they please, although as long as they're behaving. So this is the first time after their assessments. For the first time, they're allowed to leave the palace and see what it's like outside. which is obviously going to be very fun. You know, you've never been outside the palace walls. You can go now. Have fun. But they do have a curfew, so they do have to be back by a certain time at night and in their rooms, and older dragonesses do check to make sure they're in their rooms where they're supposed to be. I mean, could you imagine having, like, not liking someone in your clutch and then having to, like, live with them forever and ever? Like, that would be insufferable, right? But anyway, there's so much more I could say about this tribe alone that it could genuinely take up so long. But if you enjoyed this, maybe I'll make a part 2 for anyone who would want to hear the rest and see me finish talking about the traditions, maybe? Wherever you are, have a good day or night if you watch this to the very end.